Hello everyone. This is Six Path Weeb. Welcome to my YouTube channel, where imagination reshapes destiny and every what if opens a new path. Today's fanfic explores an intense alternate storyline from Naruto Shippuden. What if Naruko returned to face off against the deadly duo, Kakuzu and Hidan? A battle where strategy meets immortality, and where one twist in fate could rewrite everything we thought we knew. Disclaimer: this content is created purely for entertainment and discussion. I do not own any anime footage used. All rights belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, let's dive into this alternate reality. Naruko POV. My name is Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze, and this is the story of how I learned where I came from, and where I truly belong. For a long time, I believed I was alone in the world. I used to think I had been left behind, with no one to call family. But one bright day, everything changed. I discovered that my father was Minato Namikaze, a kind and brave leader who had once protected the village with all his heart. I also learned that my mother was Kushina Uzumaki, a spirited and loving woman known for her bright red hair and warm smile. Hearing about them filled my heart with a feeling I had never known before. I wasn't alone after all. I came from people who cared deeply and believed in protecting others. There was something special inside me too, a powerful energy that I didn't fully understand at first. It felt like a swirling storm and a glowing light all at once. Sometimes it made things difficult, but I chose to see it as a gift. If it was given to me, then I would learn to use it in a kind and careful way. I also discovered I had a rare ability, the power to connect with all the elements of nature. Wind, water, earth, fire, and lightning all seemed to listen to me, as if they were old friends waiting to be called upon. I loved practicing and learning new techniques, not to become the strongest, but to grow into someone who could help others. Life wasn't always easy. There were times when people didn't understand me, and moments when I had to walk my own path. But I never stopped believing that kindness and determination could change hearts. One day, I was called to a large meeting hall in the village. Many important people were gathered there, and the room felt very serious. As I stepped inside, I took a deep breath and reminded myself to stay calm. I looked around and saw familiar faces, teachers, friends, and leaders of different families. Some looked worried, others thoughtful. But I stood tall, because I knew who I was. I'm Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze, I said quietly to myself, and I will keep moving forward. Even when decisions were made that changed my path, I didn't let sadness take over my heart. Instead, I chose to see the world as full of possibilities. Every road, even a difficult one, could lead to something beautiful. So I set off on a new journey, not alone, but guided by the love I had discovered, the strength within me, and the hope that one day, I would bring smiles to everyone I met. And that's the beginning of my story. The council chamber had long since fallen silent, but the memory of that day lingered in every corner of the village. Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze walked alone beneath the soft glow of the setting sun. Her golden hair shimmered like threads of light, and though her steps were steady, her heart carried many feelings she was still learning to understand. She had been told to leave the village within a day. The words had echoed loudly at first, but now they felt distant, like a storm that had already passed. Naruko paused at the edge of the village gates. She turned back one last time, her bright blue eyes reflecting the rooftops, the training grounds, and the familiar paths she had once run along with laughter. This place, she whispered softly, will always be part of me. Even after everything, she did not feel anger. Instead, there was a quiet determination growing inside her, like a small seed waiting to bloom. Footsteps approached from behind. Naruko. She turned to see Tsunade standing there, her expression heavy with concern but also warmth. Behind her were others, friends who had come not to stop her, but to see her off. Sakura stepped forward first, her eyes shining with unshed tears. You're really going? Naruko smiled gently. Yeah. But it's not goodbye forever. Just a new path. Kakashi gave a small nod. You've always walked your own path. I think you'll make it a good one. Jiraiya chuckled softly, though his eyes were thoughtful. There's a big world out there, kid. Plenty of stories waiting for you. Naruko looked at each of them, her smile growing brighter. I'm going to learn more, get stronger, and figure out who I am, beyond everything people expect me to be. She placed a hand over her heart, where a powerful presence rested quietly within her. It no longer felt like something to fear, but something to understand. I want to show everyone, she continued, that strength isn't about power. It's about kindness. And never giving up on people. A gentle breeze passed through the gates, as if encouraging her forward. Tsunade stepped closer and placed a hand on Naruko's shoulder. No matter where you go, you have people who believe in you. Naruko nodded. I know. With one last look at the village, she turned and began walking down the open road. The world stretched wide before her, full of unknown places, new friendships, and countless chances to grow. As she walked, she felt lighter. Not because her journey would be easy, but because it was hers. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice seemed to agree, no longer restless, but calm. Naruko smiled to herself. Let's see what's out there, she said softly. And with that, she stepped forward into her new story, one filled with hope, courage, and the promise that no matter where she went, she would always choose to protect, to care, and to shine in her own way. Naruko stood quietly at the edge of the village, the soft breeze brushing against her hair. She looked back one last time at the place she had always called home. Of course, she would never let the village fall into danger, not even for a moment. Even though her heart sometimes felt heavy because of the elders' decisions, she didn't wish harm upon anyone. For the first time, though, she wondered what it might feel like if they understood her feelings better, if they could see her not just as a powerful ninja, but as a person. Still, Naruko knew why she would always protect the village. Because of Tsunade. Because of Jiraiya. And because of the people she cared about so deeply. With a small, determined smile, she turned and walked toward her home. Inside, she carefully packed her belongings. She gathered her clothes, a few treasured keepsakes, and several important scrolls that told stories about her family and her unique abilities. These scrolls felt like pieces of a puzzle she was only beginning to understand. Just as she finished, there was a gentle knock. It was Jiraiya. He handed her a special scroll with a warm, knowing look. Your father wanted you to have this, he said. Open it when you're ready to grow even stronger. Not long after, Tsunade arrived as well. She brought scrolls filled with healing techniques, her expression both proud and caring. You'll need to take care of yourself out there, she said softly. Naruko nodded, holding the scrolls close. Then Tsunade gave her the biggest hug Naruko had ever felt, strong, comforting, and full of love. After saying goodbye, Naruko stepped outside once more. With one last glance, she left the village behind, walking forward into a future only the stars seemed to know. In the weeks that followed, Naruko traveled far and wide. She spent her days learning and growing, studying her bloodline and the secrets it held. She discovered something amazing, that different elements of nature could be combined to create entirely new abilities. It was like painting with the world itself. She dreamed of mastering these powers one day, shaping them into something beautiful and strong. Then one day, something unexpected happened. Naruko suddenly lost consciousness, and when she woke up, everything felt different. The air seemed clearer. The world sharper. As she looked around, she noticed the ground nearby had changed, as if something powerful had occurred. But what truly surprised her was her reflection in a small puddle. Her eyes had transformed. They shimmered with a soft, grayish-purple color, marked with gentle ripple-like patterns. They were unlike anything she had ever seen before. Curious and thoughtful, Naruko began to learn more. She discovered that her eyes were part of a rare and ancient ability, a special power once thought to exist only in legends. Instead of feeling afraid, Naruko felt something new. She felt special. And in her dreams, knowledge came to her like whispers carried on the wind. She began to understand new techniques and ideas, as if the world itself was teaching her. With every step, she grew wiser and stronger. Months later, Naruko decided to travel toward Kumagakure, a place known for its deep knowledge of lightning-based abilities. She hoped to learn more and continue her journey. As she leapt gracefully through the trees one day, she heard voices nearby. Curious, she moved closer. In a small clearing, she saw a group of ninja. Some looked tired, as if they had been training or traveling for a long time. Despite their exhaustion, they stood together, supporting one another. Naruko watched quietly from the branches above, observing their teamwork and determination. One of them, a girl named Yugito, seemed especially strong despite her tiredness. Nearby stood her teammates, Karu, energetic and bold, Samui, calm and composed, and Amoe, who seemed thoughtful in his own unique way. Naruko smiled gently. Maybe, she thought, this is where a new chapter begins. She took a deep breath, ready to step forward, not as someone alone, but as someone ready to make new friends, learn new things, and continue her journey with hope. And so, Naruko's adventure carried on, filled with discovery, friendship, and the promise of a bright future. One of the Iwa nin stepped forward with a smug smile. "Why don't you all just come peacefully? And we'll treat you kindly," he said, though his tone made the others uneasy as his companions chuckled behind him. "You wish," Yugito replied firmly, standing her ground. "Oh? And who's going to stop us?" he challenged as he and the others began moving closer. Before anyone else could react, Naruko decided she had seen enough. With a determined breath, she leapt high into the air. A bright, swirling sphere of chakra formed in her right hand, glowing like a tiny spinning star. "Me. Rasengan," she called out. She landed with a burst of energy that sent a wave of wind outward. The Iwa nin stumbled back, startled by the sudden force. Dust swirled around Naruko as she straightened, her expression calm but resolute. The group froze, surprised not by harm, but by the sheer power and confidence she carried. "Who are you?" one of them asked, his voice no longer as bold. Another squinted, recognition dawning. "Wait. I've heard of you. Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze. The daughter of the fourth Hokage." The others murmured in surprise, and even the Kumo shinobi exchanged glances. Naruko tilted her head slightly. "You seem to know a lot about me," she said, her voice steady. "But knowing a name doesn't mean you understand a person." The air grew still for a moment. Even Yugito and her companions watched quietly, curious and impressed. Naruko took a step forward, golden light flickering gently around her. "You don't have to do this," she said. "There's always a better choice than causing trouble." The Iwa nin hesitated. The confidence they once had seemed to fade in the presence of her calm strength. Naruko raised her hand slightly, and a soft pulse of energy spread outward, pushing away the tension like a gentle breeze. The weapons that had been raised moments ago lowered, one by one. "Don't underestimate kindness," she added with a small smile. "It's stronger than you think." The group slowly backed away, unsure and no longer eager to fight. Soon, they turned and left, disappearing into the trees. Hero blinked. "Whoa." Amoe scratched his head. "That was different." Yugito smiled faintly. She didn't just stop them. She changed the moment. Naruko rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. Hee. "I just don't like unnecessary trouble." But before anyone could say more, Naruko suddenly felt a strange sensation. The world around her faded, replaced by something entirely new. When she opened her eyes, she found herself standing in a vast, dreamlike forest. The trees shimmered softly, and above her, the sky glowed a deep red, not frightening, but warm, like a sunset that never ended. "I was wondering when you would arrive," a calm, powerful voice echoed. Naruko turned and saw a figure standing before her. It looked like a warrior, clad in armor that flickered like gentle flames. Despite its fiery appearance, it felt welcoming, almost comforting. "Who are you?" she asked, curious but not afraid. "I am your Zanpakuto," the figure replied. Naruko blinked. "Zanpakuto? What's that?" The figure chuckled softly. "A Zanpakuto is a reflection of your soul. It is both your strength and your companion. Not everyone can have one, but you are special." Naruko placed a hand on her chest, thinking. "So, you're a part of me?" "Yes," the figure said. "And I am also my own being. Together, we grow stronger." Naruko smiled brightly. "That's kind of amazing." "There is more," the figure continued. "Every Zanpakuto has a name. Knowing it means understanding its true power." Naruko's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Then what's your name?" The figure stood tall, its fiery form glowing a little brighter. "Rujinjaka." As the name echoed, Naruko felt a warm surge of energy flow through her, not overwhelming, but inspiring, like a spark of courage lighting up inside her heart. "Rujinjaka," she repeated, grinning. "I like it. Let's get along, okay?" The figure gave a quiet, approving nod. And in that glowing forest, something new had begun, a bond not just of power, but of trust, growth, and endless possibility. Rujinjaka chuckled warmly, the sound like a gentle crackle of a cozy fire. "All Zanpakuto are unique," he explained kindly. "Each one has its own special ability. Mine is the power to guide and shape fire, whether it is a tiny spark or a great, glowing flame. But more importantly, fire can also bring warmth, light, and comfort." He lifted his hand, and a soft swirl of glowing embers danced above his palm. Slowly, the light stretched and formed into a beautiful sword. It shimmered with deep purple hues, its handle wrapped neatly, and a graceful design like a phoenix curved along the guard. The scabbard glowed faintly, as if it carried a quiet heartbeat of warmth. Naruko gazed at it with wide eyes, her reflection flickering in the polished blade. She felt no fear, only wonder. This is the sealed form, Rujinjaka continued. The first step. The next is called Shikai, or initial release. To reach it, you must learn the true name of your Zanpakuto, not by choosing it, but by listening and understanding. It requires patience, trust, and harmony. Naruko tilted her head thoughtfully. So, I have to become friends with it? Rujinjaka smiled. Exactly. And the final form, Bankai, comes when that bond becomes so strong that your spirit and your Zanpakuto stand together as one. It takes time, but I believe in you. Naruko placed a hand over her heart. But, why me? Why do I have this power? That is a thoughtful question, he said gently. There are forces in the world that seek out kind and determined souls, people who carry light even when things feel difficult. You were chosen because of your spirit. Naruko blinked in surprise. So, I'm kind of special? You are yourself, Rujinjaka replied. And that is more than enough. She giggled softly. Then I guess I've got a pretty interesting story now. Rujinjaka extended the sword toward her. Go on. Take it. It will share its knowledge with you. Naruko carefully reached out and held the scabbard. A warm glow spread through her hands, like sunlight on a cool morning. Instead of overwhelming power, she felt calm, clarity, and a gentle understanding settle in her mind. Moments later, her eyes opened again. The world around her came back into focus, and she realized she was holding the same beautiful sword. It felt natural in her hands, as if it had always belonged there. She smiled. Okay. Let's try this. Naruko lifted the sword slowly. A soft warmth spread around her, like a glowing breeze. The grass at her feet shimmered gently in the heat, but nothing burned. Instead, the air felt comforting, like sitting beside a campfire under the stars. A few nearby ninjas stepped back, surprised, not by danger, but by the sudden, radiant energy surrounding her. This isn't scary, one of them whispered. It feels peaceful. Naruko closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the quiet voice of her Zanpakuto. Rujinjaka, she said softly, let's do our best together. A gentle flame wrapped around the blade, glowing bright but steady, like a lantern guiding the way. It didn't lash out or harm, it simply shone. Naruko took a deep breath, then lowered the sword. The warmth faded, leaving only a soft glow behind. She turned to the others with a cheerful grin. I think I'm starting to understand. And as she stood there, holding her sword with confidence, it was clear that this was only the beginning of her journey, a journey not of destruction, but of growth, friendship, and discovering the light within herself. After that, they brought Naruko before the Raikage, where she carefully explained everything that had happened to her since her banishment, including the mysterious power of her Zanpakuto. She was still surprised to learn that she was part Shinigami, but deep inside, she felt a spark of excitement. Somewhere out there, she believed, there must be others like her. As time passed, Naruko began learning new techniques from her Zanpakuto. Some were called Hado, bright and powerful spells full of energy, while others were Bakudo, gentle and protective techniques that helped shield and support. Together, they were known as Kido, or the Demon Way, though Naruko thought of them more as a balance between strength and care. When the Raikage learned who Naruko truly was, he made a surprising decision: he would train her himself. The shinobi around them were astonished, but Naruko had grown used to surprised faces by now. When she asked him why, he simply smiled and said that one day, when she became a legend, he wanted people to know he had helped her along the way. Naruko thought that sounded fair. From that day on, she trained with the Raikage and sometimes with his lively brother, Killer Bee. They taught her how to use lightning techniques, guiding her until she could channel energy through her whole body with ease. She also learned a bit of storm-style techniques, enough to give her confidence. Over 6 months, Naruko grew close to the people of the village. The Raikage and Killer Bee began to feel like energetic older brothers, always encouraging her in their own unique ways. She also formed strong friendships with Yugito, Samui, and Kairo. Their bond was warm and supportive, filled with laughter and shared training. Killer Bee once told her about a special island where he had learned to control his power. He offered to take her there, but Naruko gently declined for now. She knew she still had more to learn before she was ready. When it was time to leave, Naruko said her goodbyes with a grateful heart, promising to return someday. Her journey next led her to Kirigakure, where she hoped to better understand water-style techniques. There, she met Mei Terumi, a wise and graceful leader who guided her with patience. Naruko admired her deeply and learned much during her stay. Later, she traveled to Sunagakure to study wind techniques. With the help of Gaara and Tamari, she improved quickly. They remembered her kindness from the past and were happy to support her growth. During her third year of banishment, Naruko finally opened a scroll left to her by Jiraiya. Inside, she found valuable knowledge, including a powerful teleportation technique once used by her father. She also studied healing techniques, learning how to care for others as well as herself. Along her journey, Naruko met a unique companion named Kagura Enkai. Kagura had bright emerald eyes and crimson hair, and she carried a mysterious side that was also a Zanpakuto. At first, they misunderstood each other and had a brief clash, but soon realized they shared similar paths. From then on, they traveled together, helping each other grow stronger. Kagura's abilities were tied to the moon, and her techniques were graceful yet powerful. Despite her mischievous nature, she was a loyal friend. In her fourth year, Naruko heard that Gaara had been in danger but was saved by his allies. Though relieved, she wished she had known sooner. It reminded her how important her friends were. One day, while passing through Amigakure, Naruko encountered a woman named Konan. She carried herself with quiet strength, but Naruko could sense a deep sadness behind her calm expression. They faced each other in a brief clash of abilities, but Naruko held back, choosing not to harm her. When Konan finally paused, surprised, she asked why Naruko had stopped. Naruko looked at her kindly and said, "Because I can see you've been through a lot. And I don't think hurting each other will make anything better." Konan was silent for a moment, unsure how to respond. Naruko then asked gently, "What do you want to do with your life?" The question lingered in the air, soft but powerful, like the beginning of a new path. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice soft and unsure. "I mean, do you want to spend your life with someone who only sees others as tools for their plans," Naruko said kindly, "or do you want to be free to choose your own path?" The words made the blue-haired girl pause. She looked down at her hands, her thoughts swirling like leaves in the wind. I don't know anymore," she admitted quietly. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she spoke. For so long, she had followed a path chosen for her, helping someone she once trusted deeply. Now, she wasn't sure what her life meant. Seeing her sadness, Naruko stepped closer and gently wrapped her arms around her. The girl hesitated for a moment, then hugged Naruko back, resting her head on her shoulder as she cried. "It's okay," Naruko whispered. "You don't have to decide everything right now." After a moment, Naruko spoke again. "You could come with me," she suggested softly. The girl looked up, surprised. I can't. It would be too dangerous. I don't want to cause trouble." Naruko smiled reassuringly. "I won't let anything bad happen. I promise." There was something warm and comforting in her voice, something that made the girl feel safe for the first time in a long while. "How can you be so sure?" she asked. Naruko scratched her head thoughtfully. "Honestly, I don't know everything. But I do know this: I want to protect the people who matter to me. And if you come with me, that includes you." The girl felt her heart flutter at those words. She wanted to believe them. She truly did. But fear still held her back. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. Naruko nodded with understanding. "That's okay. It's your choice." She turned to leave, but before she could go far, the girl ran after her. "Wait!" she called out, wrapping her arms around Naruko from behind. What if I help in my own way? I can share what I know, and when the time is right, I'll join you." Naruko thought carefully. She didn't want her new friend to be in danger. "That sounds risky," Naruko said gently. "You deserve to be safe." "I understand," the girl replied. "But I want to help. I want to make things better, not just for myself, but for others too." Naruko looked at her and saw determination shining through her fear. "All right," she said finally. "But promise me you'll be careful. And one day, I'll come back for you." The girl smiled, a small but hopeful smile. "I promise." From that day on, they met from time to time, sharing stories, dreams, and laughter. Slowly, they grew closer, learning to trust each other and themselves. Naruko spoke about her hopes of bringing people together and creating a peaceful future. The girl shared her wish to help her home become a kinder place. Their bond grew stronger with each meeting, built on honesty, kindness, and understanding. One day, Naruko paused and felt a strange pull, like a gentle tug on her thoughts. She turned to her companion. "I need to go. Someone might need help." "Then go," her friend said with a confident smile. I'll follow when I can. Naruko nodded and, in a blink, was gone, off to help someone in need. Far away, a young traveler stood at the edge of a quiet village, feeling unsure and alone. She had expected a simple journey, but things hadn't gone as planned. Just as she began to lose hope, a warm breeze passed by, and suddenly, Naruko appeared nearby. Hey, Naruko said with a bright smile. Looks like you could use a friend. The traveler blinked in surprise, then smiled back. And just like that, a new story began, one filled with friendship, courage, and the belief that no one has to face the world alone. The air felt heavy, and the forest stood unusually still, as though it was holding its breath. The shinobi from the Hidden Leaf village were tired, their energy nearly gone. Even the strongest among them could feel that they had reached their limits. We need a miracle, Kurenai whispered softly, glancing at the broken trees and scattered earth around them. Before anyone could respond, Yugito stepped forward with a small, knowing smile. I think I might have just the thing, she said. From her hand, a special kunai glinted in the fading light. With a steady motion, she tossed it into the space between them. In an instant, a brilliant crimson flash filled the air, warm and bright like the first light of sunrise. When the glow faded, someone new stood among them. It was Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze. She stood tall and calm, her long golden hair flowing gently behind her like sunlight caught in a breeze. Her eyes, marked with a mysterious ripple pattern, shone with quiet strength, but also kindness. She wore a dark outfit with a flowing coat that flickered at the edges like gentle flames, giving her the appearance of a guardian who had stepped out of a storybook. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Naruko turned her head slightly and noticed Yugito. Yugito? What's happening? She asked, her voice calm and steady. Yugito explained everything quickly, pointing toward their opponent and describing the long struggle. Naruko listened without interrupting, her expression thoughtful. When Yugito finished, Naruko gave a small nod. She looked toward her tired friends, Kakashi, Sakura, and the others, and offered them a reassuring smile. You've all done so much already, she said gently. Now let me help. There was something comforting about her presence. The tension in the air seemed to soften, and even the rustling leaves began to sound a little more peaceful. Naruko stepped forward, not with anger, but with quiet determination. She raised her hand, and a soft, glowing light gathered around her fingertips, warm, steady, and full of life. Sometimes, she said, glancing back at her friends, the strongest power isn't about defeating someone. It's about protecting everyone. The light spread outward like a gentle wave, surrounding her teammates. Their breathing steadied, and their strength slowly began to return, as if the forest itself was encouraging them to stand tall again. Naruko faced forward once more, her eyes focused yet kind. Let's finish this together, she said. And in that moment, it no longer felt like a desperate battle. It felt like hope had arrived. Kakashi watched Naruko with quiet amazement. Over the years, her name had appeared in many reports, each one more surprising than the last. Some stories had seemed too extraordinary to believe, tales of rare abilities and remarkable strength, but now, seeing her standing there, calm and confident, everything felt real. Well, there's your miracle, Kurenai, he said with a gentle smile. Ino tilted her head, curiosity shining in her eyes. Do you really think Naruko can handle this? She asked softly. I mean, we all struggled before. Kurenai didn't answer right away. Instead, she took out a small book and opened it, showing it to Ino and Kuji. They leaned closer, reading carefully. Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze. Age, 18. Hair, long blonde with dark highlights. Eyes, unique and radiant. Alias, Crimson Flash. Skills, skilled in many ninja arts, quick thinker, and full of energy. Special traits, a deep well of strength and a kind heart that never gives up. Ino blinked in surprise. She's incredible. Kuji nodded enthusiastically. She's grown so much. Kurenai smiled softly. She always had that spark. Now it's shining brighter than ever. Nearby, Kakashi chuckled quietly to himself. He could see how far Naruko had come, not just in strength, but in spirit. Naruko turned to her friend Yugito with a reassuring smile. Stay here with the others, she said gently. I'll take care of things. Yugito nodded, trusting her completely. Naruko stepped forward, her long hair swaying behind her. The air around her felt calm, almost peaceful, as if the world itself trusted her intentions. She raised her hand, focusing carefully. "I just want to make things right," she said softly. With a steady breath, she released a wave of energy, not harmful, but powerful enough to push everything back and create space. Trees rustled, leaves danced in the air, and the ground shifted slightly, as if responding to her will. From the sidelines, Ino gasped. "Did you see that?" Yamato nodded thoughtfully. "She's using something very rare. A balance of forces. It's beautiful." Kurenai watched with pride. "She's not just strong, she's in harmony with her abilities." Naruko stood calmly, her hands lowered now. She hadn't taken a single step forward, yet she had changed the entire atmosphere. Elsewhere, Shikamaru stood quietly in a forest clearing, looking up at the sky. The wind moved gently through the trees, carrying a peaceful stillness. He took a deep breath, holding a cigarette but not lighting it. "You taught me well," he murmured. For a moment, he imagined his teacher standing beside him, smiling proudly. Shikamaru gave a small nod. "I'll keep going. In my own way." Around him, deer stepped softly from the trees, their calm presence filling the forest with quiet comfort. Back with the others, Naruko turned and walked toward her friends. Her expression was bright, her eyes full of warmth. "It's okay now," she said. Ino smiled widely. "You were amazing." Huji grinned. "Yeah. Like a hero from a story." Naruko laughed softly, scratching the back of her head. "I'm just doing my best." Kakashi placed a hand on her shoulder. "And that's more than enough." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, the group stood together, surrounded by golden light. Naruko looked at her friends, feeling grateful. No matter how strong she became, what mattered most was the bond they all shared, and the promise to protect that happiness, together. A gentle breeze moved through the quiet clearing as Shikamaru stood still, remembering his teacher, Asuma. In his mind, he could almost hear Asuma's calm voice one last time, filled with warmth and trust. "My will of fire. I entrust it to you." Shikamaru took a deep breath and closed his eyes for a moment. "Goodbye, Sensei," he whispered softly. He carefully placed a small light on the ground, not to harm, but to signal the end of a long and difficult chapter. The earth settled peacefully, and the air grew still again. Shikamaru looked up at the sky, feeling both sadness and strength at once. He knew he would carry on Asuma's teachings with care and kindness. Elsewhere, Naruko stood in a wide, open field, her bright eyes focused and determined. The wind swirled gently around her, as if responding to her energy. Her opponent, Kakuzu, watched in amazement. He had never seen someone like her before, so full of life, yet so powerful in a calm and controlled way. Naruko smiled slightly. "Sometimes," she said, "strength isn't about winning. It's about protecting what matters." She formed a glowing sphere of energy in her hand. It shimmered like sunlight dancing on water, growing brighter as she concentrated. The wind gathered around it, not wildly, but like a soft song building to a beautiful note. "Futon, Rasen Shuriken," she said gently. Instead of causing harm, the energy spread outward like a glowing breeze, lifting leaves into the air and creating a peaceful wave that passed over the land. Kakuzu felt its power, not painful, but overwhelming in its brilliance, and understood he could not continue. As the light faded, Naruko lowered her hand, breathing steadily. Her friends nearby watched in awe. "That was incredible," Ino said, her eyes shining. Kurenai smiled warmly. "She's grown so much." Kakashi nodded proudly. "She didn't just learn a technique. She made it her own." Naruko scratched the back of her head, laughing softly. "I'm still learning," she said. "But I'll keep getting better." Just then, Kagura approached, placing her hands on her hips with a playful smile. "You never told me you could do that, Naruko." Naruko grinned. "I wanted to make sure it was safe first." Kakashi stepped forward. "Will you be heading out now?" Naruko glanced at her friends, then at the open horizon. "Yeah. There's still a lot to do. And a lot of people to help." She handed Kakashi a small scroll. "Please give this to Lady Tsunade. It's important." He accepted it with a nod. "Of course. And Naruko. Come back someday." She smiled, her eyes bright and hopeful. "I will. When the time is right." Standing beside Kagura and Yugito, Naruko placed a hand on each of their shoulders. A soft crimson glow surrounded them, not harsh or sudden, but warm like a sunset. In a gentle flash, they disappeared, leaving behind only a calm breeze and the quiet promise of new adventures ahead. Shikamaru, watching the sky from afar, allowed himself a small smile. The will of fire lived on, not in battles, but in hearts that chose kindness, courage, and hope. Shikamaru stepped out from the quiet forest, a gentle deer from his clan walking calmly beside him. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, painting soft patterns on the ground. In his hand, he held a small, worn packet that reminded him of important lessons and memories from the past. He looked thoughtful, as if he had been solving a very difficult puzzle all on his own. Just as he took another step forward, a blur of pink and dark colors landed gracefully in front of him. "Here you are," Sakura said with relief, standing up straight and smiling warmly. Sai stood beside her, observing quietly. Both of them noticed how tired Shikamaru looked, and they were surprised to see the deer calmly at his side. "Reinforcements?" Shikamaru asked, raising an eyebrow slightly. "You're a little late, aren't you?" Sakura blinked in surprise. "What do you mean?" "Shikamaru. Did you really handle everything by yourself?" Sai tilted his head thoughtfully. "You are even more capable than I imagined." Shikamaru gave a small shrug and carefully tucked the packet away. "This time, I had to figure it out on my own," he said, glancing at the deer, who nudged him gently as if in agreement. Sakura smiled, feeling proud of her friend. "Well, I guess you did an amazing job." "What's happening with the others?" Shikamaru asked. "We came looking for you," Sakura replied. Sai nodded. "We should return and regroup with everyone." With that, the three of them leapt lightly into the trees, moving swiftly through the forest toward their friends. Later, both teams gathered in a peaceful clearing surrounded by tall trees and birdsong. Everyone shared what they had seen and learned. "So Naruko really showed up?" Sakura asked, her eyes lighting up with excitement. "I wish I had seen her." Kakashi nodded with a gentle smile beneath his mask. "Yes, she did. Naruko has grown stronger and more confident than ever. She asked me to deliver an important scroll to Lady Tsunade. We should head back to Konoha right away." Everyone agreed, their spirits lifting at the thought of returning home. As they set off together, there was a quiet sense of hope in the air. Somewhere out there, Naruko was continuing her journey, helping others, learning new things, and spreading her bright, cheerful energy wherever she went. And though they didn't know exactly what the scroll contained, they trusted that, just like Naruko herself, it would lead to something good. High above the trees, the sky stretched wide and blue, as if promising many more adventures to come. Dear YouTube family, that's all for now. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more. Thank you for your support. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.